Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, listeners, and anybody new to to our little podcast home. Today, we've got a gentleman, and a very interesting gentleman indeed, and somebody from a country that I used to live in and love very much. So I'd like to introduce you to Ben Van Leest, who's the Senior VP Aviation, and he's currently speaking to us from Gothenburg. So Ben, lovely to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. And great having this conversation with you.
Yep, and like I say, I love Sweden. I used to live in Sigtuna, which I think was the original capital, if my memory serves me right. Beautiful place, right on the sea.
Yeah. I'm here based in Gothenburg, west coast of Sweden. Summertime here is the best time of the year. Being here, of course, all hoping for the best weather. You know, like in the UK, it's a bit on and off, but we make the best out of it.
It is, and that's why we appreciate it when it's on.
Yeah, it is.
Right, Ben, thank you so much, sir. Now, can you just give our listeners a little bit of background as to what you actually do with Transoft Solutions? So we know you're the Senior VP from Aviation, so if you just give a little bit of background, that'd be great.
Yep. Okay. Now, Transoft Solutions is a company that creates software for the transportation industry, and I'm at Transoft responsible for the business unit Aviation. We have softwares like AVI-Plan for planning and design of airside infrastructure, so the maneuvering and parking of aircraft. And we also have various other softwares, amongst others for capacity simulation. I'm myself a civil engineer. I've been working as an airport consultant for about 10 years and now for 20 years in the aviation software business. So, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Now, for many of us, and like, you know, I'm an old veteran in this industry, whenever I hear somebody say software and new programs and everything, I got to admit there's a little bit of me that's a bit skeptical and, oh my goodness me, here we go again. But in late, and especially now, I think it's so important. And, you know, everything that's done from a digitalization perspective and all the different simulated programs that are there can help in so many ways. So I'm a newfound supporter, so I'm really keen to learn. Now, you mentioned a couple of your programs there. Now you've got AVI-Plan, okay,
yeah.
which is with the airports. Can you just give us a little bit of background as to, you know, what the fundamentals or what the core objectives of AVI-Plan are?
Well, with AVI-Plan, airports try to make their parking and maneuvering area for aircraft more efficient. You know, to park aircraft in a safe way and let them go in and out of their parking stands in a safe way by you can, for example, simulate the pushback with AVI-Plan. You can check wingtip clearances. You can analyze the impact of jet blast. So you can look at both geometric consequences of aircraft maneuvering in terms of distances, like I mentioned, the wingtip clearances, but also the operational aspects, pushback, whether an aircraft can really make a turn or not. And so on. So it's a very widespread tool used at many airports and also at many consulting firms. So we're very happy to work with this
Brilliant.
large group
of
customers.
For all those passengers who are on an aircraft and love to get the window seat, when they're looking out and they're seeing the aircraft being towed back and then turning and coming in, and when it lands and it's working towards its area stand.
Yeah.
All of that maneuverability and the safety issues is done via your tool.
Yeah, a lot of the marking, for example, the yellow lines that you see on a pavement, they are designed with AVI-Plan. Yeah. If you are, as a passenger, waiting just before boarding, and you look outside and you see the aircraft waiting there for you to get in, you see the nose wheel and you see the yellow line it is parked on, and then all those various stop lines. You know, usually for different aircraft types, you have different stop lines.
Yep, yep.
And those are designed with AVI-Plan because it's like a puzzle. The airport, they want to have as many aircraft on an aircraft stand as possible. But those aircraft, they all have different characteristics. You know, the bridge that connects to the aircraft has to connect to the door, and one aircraft has the door higher, the other one much lower. And in that respect, there is the slope in the bridge that has an effect, that has to comply with regulations, international regulations. You also have the fueling of the aircraft, where in many of the busier airports, you have the fueling pits in the ground, right? So the positioning of aircraft also depends on that. So with AVI-Plan, airports and consultants, they solve this puzzle in how to position the aircraft at the stand.
Exactly, and I mean, it's so complex, but it's also something that people don't realise. And one of the things I've said so many times on the podcast to so many different guests is that when you see that aircraft, or when you get on the aircraft, or you're looking at an aircraft, the amount of businesses and technical elements and support services and planning services that go around with that one aircraft, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And it gives so many people so many opportunities for work associated with an aircraft.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's a very interesting part of it. And we are, of course, a relatively small niche company, and it's nice to see our work kind of being materialized, or the tool being used by so many across the globe. That's a fantastic feeling when you fly, that you see, okay, and also we get feedback from our clients that, oh, we've done this and that with the software and really appreciate that. Or of course there are also suggestions for improvements, right? So this interaction with clients is key to our way forward.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And when I was with Qatar Airways in Doha, Hamad International had the benefit of the software. So I remember that well.
Yep, they are one of our clients for sure.
Yeah. And then another thing is when the 380 came on board.
Yep.
So you guys were heavily involved in making sure that everything associated with the capability of handling such a large aircraft was in place.
For sure. I mean, in today's world, the A380 is being phased out, right? We are in very challenging times, and airlines have to save money. But about 20 years ago, when we were at the very beginning of the AVI-Plan software that had a different name at that time, we were approached by Airbus, and they had obviously designed the A380, and for Airbus it was at that time very important to analyze the compatibility of this aircraft with new large dimensions, to ensure there were no particular issues while maneuvering or while being parked at the gate. They used our software to do that. That of course gave us an enormous boost, because Airbus, they had some internal software of course as well, but that was not really meant to be used in public by the community, and it was not user friendly, where we had developed a software that of course focuses on the use of by normal users on airports and consulting firms, and airlines and suppliers like Airbus and Boeing as well. So that gave us an enormous boost, and from there it took off, and we developed our aviation business.
I think, and everybody that was in or around an aircraft and actually experienced flight on a 380 they're always looking at the double height bridges and upper and lower. I mean, it's a phenomenal aircraft. And the poor old 747, the queen of the skies, is also on the way out. And
yeah.
you know, if that's the case, and then I suppose the 380 is the king of the skies, and it's had a lot shorter lifespan than the queen of the skies. But it's a shame. It's a shame to see both of those huge aircraft.
Yeah, they are both icons, I think, in the industry, and it's a shame to see them go. I really always enjoyed flying the 747. I think it's
fantastic.
It's a beautiful aircraft.
Fantastic. And having trimmed a few of the freighter versions as well, it's one of the most rewarding feelings in the world, you know, to trim an aircraft and see it take off. It's brilliant. Absolutely superb, especially something as big as that.
Yeah.
Now, another product that you've got is Arkport.
Yes, Arkport is software for simulating the flow of passengers in the terminal building. And especially today, you know, usually it is used when airports are expanding their facilities, or they are changing the current processes. For example, when you go from the traditional check-in counters to kiosk check-in, right?
Yep.
Or you introduce more modern equipment at the security checks. But nowadays, there is a lot of demand for the software to analyze the impact of social distancing. You know, people keeping 1.5, 2 meters distance, maybe an extra check on temperature of passengers. How does that impact the actual capacity of the terminal?
Yeah, and I would imagine as things progress. And like you said, you know, it's looking at various elements that have come in now as a result of this damn virus. But things like the retail outlets, duty free, where people can and can't go, I'm assuming that the software would be ideal for that.
Yeah, exactly. You can analyze all areas in the terminal building, whether it is check-in or boarding or the retail area. And of course, you work with assumptions on the behavior of people, what they are doing.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting maybe aspect of these the times that we are living in today. That how do people adjust to the current situation? Is their behavior changing? Are they coming later to the airport, or are they refraining from going into the shops? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's of course all very interesting from a technical perspective, right?
Do you think ever that there'll be things like where a passenger could go online, get obviously all of their boarding pass and their seat allocation, but do you think there'll be questions like, you know, are you a shopper? Yes, no. So then it dictates what time they can come to the airport with all this new technology and new filtering of people going through security, temperature checks, maybe pre-gate board checks, etc. So do you think there's an opportunity that you know, you could actually be zoned or have slot times to come to an airport to keep the flow manageable, but also that you know, people would know whether or not you were a non-shopper, but if you tried to go shopping? Do you think there's any scope in that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. That's a very interesting thesis you put in there, because I think there is still more, let's say, streamlining of processes that we could do. Because, you know, nowadays we're all online, whether it's on your mobile phone or through your laptop. And you could, for example, already select a few items that you want to shop, order them online, and when you are in the terminal, just pick it up, right? Okay, if you want to try a new suit or anything, obviously you want to try it out, but you can save time in doing your regular purchases on your nice bottle of whiskey or whatever. So there are for sure more steps we can take also in phasing in the people in a more controlled way in the terminal, so that we have a more continuous flow without lowering the peaks. Because if we lower the peaks, it's more safe for people.
Exactly.
Right, but it's also from of course a capacity perspective the best way to operate the terminal.
Exactly, from everything, from all the safety, security, personnel issues. And one of the things I was thinking as well is, every now and again you go to a terminal and the terminals can be different, and then you've got the congestion at security, but there's never a message that comes to you to say, look, there's now problems at security, you need to go through earlier.
Yep.
Or when there's a segregated gate area or for different regions.
Yep.
You don't get that sort of communication and messaging, and then all of a sudden, like a lot of people, you might leave it to the last minute, and then all of a sudden you think, oh my God, now
yeah, exactly.
And then you panic and rush around looking for someone to get you to the front. And
well, there are already applications that you can have on your mobile phone that give you alerts on these kind of processes. So that's okay, hurry up, because there is so much waiting time at the security check. But I think for now, those apps are sometimes airport based.
Yes.
Right, and then you don't want to have a separate app for each airport.
Correct.
So there is certainly a demand for a more universal approach where you can just on your phone get any information about the process that you have to go through, independent on which airport you are.
Yeah, and what I was looking for is more of a push principle than a pull, so that if I put a route in like London Dublin, okay, and I'm checking in, then all the relevant information London Dublin, so it tells me the terminal, because I've also had problems where you're in certain airports with so many terminals.
Yeah.
And you don't get the change of the carrier that's gone to a different terminal, and you turn up at the wrong terminal, or the terminals are so far away from each other. Like if you take Manila, if you're in the wrong terminal, you might as well forget it, because the time to get around the traffic is incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I was thinking is, it would be great that whenever you do your boarding and you do your routing, bang, automatically it logs you into the relevant apps or the relevant messaging systems that can tell you exactly what's going on, and from there you can allocate your slot.
Yeah.
But there is.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, we have other software for aircraft simulation, and with that software, we also use that software to make predictions for the future, and that is maybe a technology that we can also, in a later stage, bring to the passenger to inform the passenger, okay, the aircraft that you are going to fly on is delayed by so and so much, or it will arrive 10 minutes later on the gate, or things like that, right? So there is a lot of information you can get to the passenger, but I think it's very important to have it in a very structured way.
Yep.
So that you not have to dig into the information that you need, but that really the essential stuff is there for you.
Yeah, it's like when somebody says, "Did you not read the small print, sir?"
Yeah, exactly.
You want to go get the small print, yeah. But it's much better if it comes to you. Yeah. Now another product, AirTop.
Yeah.
So you want to give us a little bit?
Just talking about that. AirTop is a capacity analysis software, simulation software for aircraft movements on the ground and in the air. In the air, immediate airspace close to the airport, but also between airports, and it's used by airports, obviously, by air navigation service providers like, for example, NETS in the UK or DFS in Germany.
Yeah.
And also by a lot of advanced consulting firms.
Yeah. And the issue with that, again, for people who love to travel and love to know the ins and outs of how things work in the background. So what you can actually do is you can message, or you can simulate and forecast arrival times or congestion issues or stand issues at an airport. So instead of it making good ground and then having to circle around an aircraft, which anybody who lands in London knows only too well, it can slow the speed of the aircraft up. So it almost seems like a seamless transition rather than you've got there in time or a little bit earlier. Now you have to circle.
Yeah, you're now talking about really operational stuff, but for sure we have let's say a special application of the AirTop software that we call Wiser What If Analyzer. That is
I like that, by the way. I think that's good.
Yeah, that is
Wiser.
used by in a number of German area control centers already. And it uses this simulation engine to make predictions for the next hour or 2 or 3 hours ahead, which means that in that area control center, the supervisor of his the ATC team can make decisions on getting in new air traffic controllers when there is a heavy workload, or traffic controllers can indeed see that, okay, there is no need for this aircraft to keep on flying that fast because there are already heavy delays at the arriving airport. So just take it easy and reduce the speed somewhat instead of, burning fuel over the airport and getting there maybe 10 minutes late, but without burning too much extra fuel.
Yeah. So environmentally, it's a benefit as well.
Yeah,
which is everybody's focus at the moment, and quite rightly so. Now, another thing I just want to ask you, in your vision and mission, one of the statements that's there, which I thought was good, was it says to create safer and efficient transportation systems by empowering every planner and engineer.
Yes.
So now for me, obviously, that's a little bit, is it like the tools are so good and so easy to use that's why the empowerment is there, or does there have to be a very rigorous training program before they use the tools?
Well, of course, the tools are good and they are relatively easy to use. I mean, there are different levels of complexity. If we talk about AVI-Plan, it's a very widespread tool, and it's based in CAD. It works on a CAD platform. And the people that are used to CAD platforms, they learn AVI-Plan quite easily. Still, we find that training is an essential part of the equation, because when we do training, we see that people that have been using the software for a number of years without training, they kind of find a way around in the software, but they don't get the maximum out of it.
Yep.
So, and obviously we have developed the software with a certain use in mind, and a certain way of how you select your parameters and your settings and stuff like that. And there is a lot of fine-tuning that can be done. And even with experienced users, we find that when we do such a training, we can give them so many small tips and tricks that they really feel like, oh, I should have known this 2 years ago. It would have saved me so much time, right?
Yep.
So, and it's not because the software is not user-friendly. It's more that there are always this kind of small choices that you do in each software, that when you know the background and when you've been going through the software with the supplier, you get just this little extra in maximizing the use out of the software.
Yeah. When we said at the beginning, I was always a little bit skeptical. The thing that I used to feel is, you get so many people who are they're so focused and specialist in the development of that particular software.
Yeah.
And then what they do is, when they get it across to the end user or the company, the supplier, the customer, then they look for super users.
Yeah.
And those super users are people who are also more inclined to be on that side of the fence than the other.
Yeah.
And so what you're actually doing is you almost alienate the actual user.
Yeah.
Because they're not as familiar, or they're not as, their minds don't think in that manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always think to myself, why on earth don't they do like an idiot's guide or a do's and don'ts, or, this is the reason why, and have sort of like a follow-up verification, or a preventive maintenance program, so that when you deliver it, yes, you've got your super users and some key guys, but you should have little checks to make sure that everybody understands. But more than just what to do and when to do it, that they understand why to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Now for us, that is really key, I think. I mean, we work in a niche market, right? People that our clients, whether they work at an airport planning department or at a consulting firm, they, you have those super users, and you have, let's say, the more regular users. And for us, it is a matter of having a good connection with both groups of users, because obviously we can make all kind of features that super users are asking for, but in the end you want to have a universal software that also appeals to the regular users. So there is always this trade-off, this balance in what you want to do and how you want to serve the community. And I think training is, of course, there important, but also very much listening to the community in their specific demands. Because even when we all are technical and we want to make it more better and advanced, sometimes there is a more immediate need to make something more simple.
Yes.
Right. So it's really having, I think, an open ear for us. And that has been always a very, I think, a side where we have been strong in listening to the various customer groups and trying to keep a good balance between super and regular user.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think, I've always looked at it and I'm thinking to myself, we don't need perfection tomorrow. We need practical today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
no, for sure.
And then that sometimes means, making things simpler, which is not the most easiest of things to do.
No. Often the the more simple you want to make things in a technical software, it requires a lot of thinking. And it is more challenging than what you would think. But then in the end, when you achieve a result that you feel, we see an effect at the customer, it's very it gives a high satisfaction. I think I really like that, because I think the entry into the software should be relatively easy, and then people should be able to grow into the software and take on additional tasks while they are growing into the use of the software.
100%. And another thing that frustrates the living daylights out of me is, when people are at a certain level in a business and they say, no, I only want something on half a page, or give me the key points. And then you got the poor guys on the floor level who are having to do it, and they know full well that the devil's in the detail. And if they don't have a full breakdown and step by step, there's no half page or no bullet points or no helicopter view that can help them deal with it. And that's the one thing that drives me mad. And it's also, sometimes people at the top haven't got enough time to understand what's necessary to make the right decision for the people at the bottom. And then you end up spending more money, or you end up possibly spending not enough money to make sure things were done correctly in the first place. And I think in this day and age now, with the reboot and the return to reality after this COVID-19, it's so important now, obviously cash flow, and then things that make an impact quickly so people can survive until such time as there's a vaccine or things have changed in some form of normality.
I noticed while we were talking about traveling passengers that it kind of starts bubbling inside of me, having been home for about 6 months now. That I think we all of us that are in this industry, how much we long to getting out there again traveling without real heavy restrictions, and you know, getting back into the business, right? It's amazing how things have changed. But I think, yeah, as an industry, we all work together. We are aiming for the same goal, you know, get back on our feet, and yeah.
I think what you said there, and I had a flight last week, just very quickly in and out of Spain. But the collaboration and the cooperation, the consideration is fantastic.
Mm.
But in some cases, it's the communication that is not as good as it should be.
No, exactly.
I think what everybody's starting to realize now is that you have to communicate in a lot more efficient and logical, and telling people why.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you communicate something and there's a question,
yeah.
it's completely lost and it's wasted.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where now digitalization, you know, automation, all of the positivity around systems and forecasting and simulations and stuff is so important now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then telling people why.
Yeah, I think you can give people more information in today's world than what used to be, because getting more background on, let's say, if there is a delay with the aircraft, right, a technical issue, giving them more background on the how and why gives also more confidence to the audience, to the public, when they are traveling, that, you know, there is no hidden agenda, there are no secrets, you know. This is the issue, we're working on it, we think it will take 20 minutes to resolve it, so just take it easy and we'll get back to you once we're ready, right? So these kind of things are extremely important, and I think in today's world, communication is indeed, like you say, it's really key.
100%. And I think the, you know, the how and the why and the confidence, that needs to form a storyline. And if people like a story, because they can see there's a beginning, there's an end, there's ups and downs, you know, there's the villain, there's the hero, everything, but it's a storyline. And that storyline for the communication just shows that people care in a different way now. And I think, you know, this from crisis to care is the right step forward now, you know?
Yeah. And I think also now with, you know, the COVID-19 and the processes and all the extra checks on the temperature and whether people are keeping the right distance and all these things, you should feel as a passenger, you should not feel punished, but you should feel that the staff at the airport supports you in your travel, right? In going through this process, that you work on that together. So yeah.
And I think it's a trait. Everybody thinks they can communicate, and everybody thinks they've communicated. But in most cases, it's not the case. And what people are listening to isn't what you intended. So I think, you know, this confirmation, you know, of communication is going to be so important moving forward. Can I ask you something now? What do you see as being the biggest opportunity ahead of you based on where we are now in aviation and what you've understood from all of your various tools and products?
Opportunities that we are looking forward to are obviously the predictive software. We've implemented that at some sites, and the results are very good. People are enthusiastic. It really helps them in making better decisions. So we are looking forward to implementing that in more client sites, more airports, more air navigation service providers. At the moment, it's only at the air traffic level in the air, in area control centers. What we are working on right now is bringing it on the airport level, so that also the staff at the airport taking care of the gate assignments and the maneuvering of aircraft on the ground, that
Yep.
also they can make use of this predictive capability and also understand, okay, in 1 or 2 hours time, we might see, the simulation software shows us that we may run into problems on these stands. Of this category of stands, we will not have enough. We will have to take some measures there. And in that sense, when you know that certain problems will be arising, and in let's say 1-2 hours, and you can prepare for it, it makes it so much easier to take the right decisions, right, and to streamline your processes and make the service to the airlines, and of course then in the end to the passengers better. And that's what it's all about, I think, and that is something we are really looking forward to bring this process, this support tool to the airport environment as well.
Okay. And with that, can I ask you something again? With all the experience and all the rollouts of your various tools and platform, you obviously focus on risk and risk assessment and mitigation, etc.
Yeah.
Do you have something that if tomorrow somebody was looking to do something that had been done so many times using your tools, that you would automatically be able to give the most optimum risk assessment and mitigations and business continuity guidelines? Do you have that capability, or is that something that could be done in the future as well?
It's something that could be done in the future. It depends a little bit on which area you refer to, but I think it's very much a matter of having this this communication with our user groups, right? We have regular user meetings. We have to understand their challenges. Understand their demands and requirements. And in that way support them with the tools. So I mean there are whether you talk about risk and risk assessment or optimization, it's all about taking the right decision at the right time.
Correct. Yeah.
And our tools are capable of doing that in certain areas. In other areas, I think there are still opportunities, and because it's such a small world, we're living in and working in a niche environment. Our key is to work closely together with partners in the industry, with major clients or others that can have valuable input, because we are aware that we don't have all the knowledge ourselves. Right. It's a collaboration, and by doing that, I'm sure we can either in making improvements in existing software or come with new tools that support processes.
Yeah. It's just that like you see now with the reboot, and people are worried about what's going to happen if people haven't redone their training on the ground and safety issues, etc. And the recommendation is that you do a risk assessment, you check your hazards, and you come up with a plan which is pre-reboot. And I just think there's so many people doing that exercise all at the same time. Why would you not have a small group of experts who do the optimum risk assessment and plan and mitigation, and then give it to everybody that's in the same areas? And you've got the best of the best,
Definitely there are startup challenges now at airports, at airlines, and the way to overcome can be by involving experts, right? And when these experts are using our tools, that's of course great. But in the end, it's all about I think collaborating towards this common goal.
And I think if anything's coming out of this global crisis, apart from recent stories of hacking and whatever, I think it's the fact that there's a lot more collaboration and a lot more focus on doing things quicker.
Yeah.
And not being so, bureaucratic and administrative in getting decisions and making the right thing be done.
Yeah.
And if ever there was a book written about who stole or who kidnapped common sense and just basic logic, I think now people are starting to track and find where it was hidden and start using it again.
Yeah. Now I mean, I'm already that old that I also experienced the 9/11 crisis, right? And especially in airport software, we were very, very badly hit.
Yeah.
And also in today's situation, I think, of course, it's very challenging and we are all struggling. But what we see is that a lot of companies reach out to each other and trying to find common ground to help each other.
Yeah.
We all realize that we can't do it on ourselves, right? We have to work together. And also internally, I see that within our team that it's kind of there is a kind of creativity to make the best out of the situation, which I think if you have been growing for 5, 6, 7 years and things are always okay and you're growing year to year, you kind of are getting into the automatic pilot mode.
Yeah.
Right, but a crisis like this, I always try to see the positive side of it, and the positive side I think is that collaboration, but also the increased creativity to find ways to improve your internal processes, to work on new things. You have to do something, right? And as a team, if you realize, okay, we've done everything we could, then at least you can't blame yourself.
Yeah, no, exactly. And character has a way of surfacing in a crisis, which is good. So that's what's necessary. Yeah. Now, just to finish on, there's something that I really liked, which was, again, mission and vision, but it says to build the world's most trusted and easy to use transportation engineering software and provide outstanding service for users. So the trusted and the easy to use, I think, well, it's evident how well used your systems are and the focus and everything. And I thank you for giving us a bit more of an insight into the background of what goes on, and really appreciate it.
Yeah,
wish you great success moving forward. And I'm definitely going to follow up a lot more closely than I did before on some of the products and get to know them a little bit better, because I think it's excellent. And having experienced the end results, and sometimes being out on the ramp and you look around and you see sort of like a mini roundabout on a tarmac and you think, my God, how does this work? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So well done. And thank you very, very much for joining us.
Yeah.
And really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. It was really nice having this chat with you. And like mentioned, if you are traveling, look around you and realize everything that's behind lines on the tarmac and the positioning of equipment around the aircraft. There is a lot of things behind it. I think we are all longing to coming there again in that situation that we are in the terminal, looking out on the airfield, and anxious to get in the airplane again.
Yep. Okay, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Ben. All the best.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks.
Bye.